As I said earlier, I think at least Americans used to be scared the hell out of Russian scientists and engineers because we knew how good they were. So we are still waiting, since capitalism happened here, for where the hell are all the Russian companies showing up? We're waiting for them because we think they're going to be good. The very few we see, the one we see in the, if you use a Macintosh in the US, almost every Macintosh runs Parallels, which we forget is a Russian company. I mean, it just plays so well, and it works so well, we just kind of assume it's an international company headquartered somewhere in Silicon Valley until you read the fine print and you say Moscow. We expected 1,000 of those because we think you guys are as good as they are.
Have you met some very impressive ideas in Russia during these days? Which ideas can you mention?
Excuse me. Nikolai, again, the name of Eugene's company? Yeah, it was just a interesting idea I'd never seen before. There were a couple others we saw yesterday.
Yeah, that's Basecamp for marketing.
Yeah, oh yeah, that one was good. Yeah.
And the third one is Celia's the biomodeling things.
Yes. Yeah, so those were, I would have said, I would have taken those companies to venture capitalists in Silicon Valley in a minute. Meaning I would have, I don't know if they would have gotten investment, but they were certainly not embarrassing ideas. They were, and so at least the first level, the ideas were world class. It's the execution that really matters. And the execution, as I said earlier, we play a very different capitalist game. It is cowboy capitalism, but it is relentless and ruthless. And it is constant. And sometimes I get the feeling, with the small amount of time I spent here, is that some companies are not yet prepared to make that personal investment in working that hard. And it's okay, neither do most Americans, but the ones who do want to work that hard end up in Silicon Valley. I believe you could build that culture here. You don't have to come out elsewhere to do that. I just think it's a matter of will and a matter of vision if this is where we want to compete.
Yeah, and of course I have to ask you about your 6 ways to fail as a startup.
It's we used to make this mistake in Silicon Valley, and we used to make it in the U.S. all the time, believing that I have a great idea equals a company. That's just a flawed assumption from the first word. I have a good idea typically means, oh, I have a good idea, well, therefore, I just need to build it. I just need to, build it because I understand the customer. The customer is me. I don't need to talk to anybody. And just that. I don't need to talk to anybody, and let's go build the entire product and then launch it. And of course, people will line up to buy it. It's just a fantasy out of the movies of how capitalism and companies work. The idea is only a piece of a company. The other major piece is whether you have people who want the product, or will pay for the product, or need the product. And we call this product market fit. And so we now have a process called customer development that allows us to take the idea out very early, which makes engineers very nervous. Oh, it's my secret, we can't share this with anybody. We're not saying share your source code or your firmware or your algorithms. We're saying you need to talk to people as early as possible and to get people to be using prototypes or unfinished products or whatever, so you could test whether anybody else shares your passion or vision. And it's as simple as that. This is when bad things happen to great companies. The current international example is Nokia, but it's also RIM and other companies that have been disrupted by Apple's iPhone. These were spectacular companies. They were doing nothing wrong. In fact, the only thing that went wrong is the world did not read their business plan or their revenue forecast because someone outside of their company disrupted their business. Apple's iPhone was a complete reinvention of what a portable phone should be. It wasn't that anybody in Nokia was stupid, it's just that someone outside was more brilliant. And then the company Nokia and others ignored it over time. This was so traumatic for people in Finland, by the way. I just spent a week there, and never once did anybody mention the word Nokia. It was such, because it was their national champion. And for some reason, they take it personally, like your father was caught sleeping with your babysitter and then died in bed. It was that embarrassing. Where I just consider it a natural thing that happens in disruption. What is happening that's kind of unique is that in the last 20 years, technology has been moving faster and faster, and large corporations need to actually be able to innovate because outside of their companies, this disruption is happening and will start impinging on even the best corporations. Look what happened to Google when Facebook showed up. Google used to be the on-ramp, the first place that everybody in the world went to when you signed on the web. Nowadays, half the people sign on the web through Facebook, not using Google. Google did nothing wrong. Something got invented that they didn't even know about. So companies need to, even large corporations, national champions, need to now to have a culture of continuous innovation, or eventually they're going to be put out of business by others' actions, not their own.